January is not just a time for resolution, it is also body image and mental health month. An important topic, not just in January, but all year long. And to talk more about this topic, Alexa Randolph joins us on the show. She's the author and co-host of the podcast, Staying Strong. Alexa, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Podcasts are really popular right now, but give us a little bit of background. How did you get involved in this and what's your goal with it?
Yeah, I will say I never thought in a million years I'd be podcasting. I'm not someone that likes to listen to my voice or anything like that, but it's a lot of fun. 4 years ago, the quick story is I was in a bad car accident and ended up with a mild traumatic brain injury, and I suffer from central pain syndrome, which is a chronic pain from a neurological disorder. And I'm in pain 24/7, and I just want to help other people that are going through similar things, whether it be something like mental health, chronic pain, chronic illness, anything really that's invisible, because I look healthy on the outside.
Yeah, so prior to your car accident, did you even realize that this pain and this, it existed?
No, I mean, you hear like on the commercials, like for Lyrica for fibromyalgia. Like, so I'd heard of what fibromyalgia was, but I had no idea.
So what is it like for you every day?
The struggle, for sure. It's definitely a struggle. I like to say, when people say, so do you have good days? It's not that I like to say I have good moments in the day, because I'm always in pain somewhere, somehow, like something's always bothering me. So, but I have better moments in a day than others.
How do you manage the pain and getting through the day then?
I just kind of like just do my best to maybe try and distract myself and really listen to my body. Like some days I can't do a lot. So I might lay in bed or lay on the couch, and I don't let myself feel guilty anymore for it.
Yeah, because there's a mental process along with this.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about how you got from the car accident to the podcast.
Yeah, so for a good year or so after the car accident, I actually had no idea what I had. I kept having doctors basically tell me it's in my head, that I'm fine, I'm healthy. And I had a doctor basically make it seem like I was making this up. And I'm said to him, and I'm thinking to myself, I was only 21 at the time. I had just graduated college 2 months prior. I had my whole life ahead of me. Like, why would I want this for myself? It was definitely a struggle for a good year and a half, 2 years. I couldn't work at all. Like, I could barely focus on anything. The pain was horrendous. And I finally had this idea for a blog. I love to write. I had written my 2 novels, like kind of like early on in my illness, but also before I had started it. So I had the writing down and I'd made a blog, and I wanted to get it out there as much as I could. And we had a family friend that has a studio, and he was telling me all about podcasting. And so I gave it a try September of 2019 and never looked back.
So with that, tell us about the podcast. What topics do you talk about? And I understand you have a co-host as well.
So yes, for the podcast, it's just me. It's called With Love Alexa. And what it is, it's just basically talking about all kinds of mental health, invisible illness, just overall strength and being forever strong. I had one of the interviews I had was with Big Brother 16 contestant Zach Rance. And he's also a mental health coach, and he has his own brand, the Mental Health Collection. And we became friends from him interviewing me, and we connected a lot. And I ended up coming to him with this idea of hosting an event. And that's where the Zoom came to be. And that was September of 2020.
And so what's been the response from the public? Are you finding there are a lot of other people that suffer, such as yourself?
Yeah, whether it's chronic pain, chronic illness, or mental health. There's so many people out there, and so many people feel alone. Like, they don't have the support they need. And that's what I want to be. I want to be that voice to somebody that doesn't feel like they can do it for themselves.
And when you're doing this, there's a lot of work that goes into,
Yeah.
creating the podcast. I think people think, oh, you just put up, a mic and you start talking, but
No.
there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Yes, lots of emailing, lots of follow-ups, lots of research. It's definitely like a full-time job.
And so with that, are you able to make a living off of this?
I'm working on it. I've had some really cool things in the works. Like I actually, as a side thing, I have merchandise, Forever Strong merchandise. It's hard to see, but it's like my shirt. So I have like t-shirts, I have sweatshirts, bags, hats, and that kind of goes along with my podcast and with our events. So
And
that
do you,
would help.
and do you think because of your experience and your young age, it is allowing more and more people to feel like they're not alone in their struggles?
I think so. I think because for so long you hear like chronic pain and you think older people, um, like elderly or just people that are like brittle or older. You don't really think of someone like me.
With us on the Mega Cast, Alexa Randolph. She's the author and co-host of the podcast Staying Strong. But as you had mentioned, you also wrote a couple books. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Sure. It's also called the With Love series. They can be found on Amazon, Kindle, or paperback. It's there are two books. So the first one is With Love Ella, and the second follows it, and it's called Daniel Ever After. They're my babies. I've the first one I had like the first draft written in like my junior year of college, and it's been very special ever since.
So you started writing when you were in college. What's your degree in?
Communications.
So you went for communications. What was the process like for you to write the book and then to publish it? Did you self-publish?
I did through Amazon KDP, so the Kindle direct publishing, which has been like such a blessing because it's been fun. I got to work with like local editors. I worked with like local artists for my cover, so it's able to work with people. I get to do everything, like choose everything.
So how does this work for you now since you've been unable to work, but yet you're able to balance doing your podcast and writing, but not able to get what we would consider a 9-to-5 job? How are you juggling this new world for you?
It's a struggle. I mean, there's definitely like days I've felt guilty because I've had to cancel on people because I'm literally so sick. Like I can barely move and I just know I won't be my full self. I really only do it maybe a couple hours a day, if that, because my brain just doesn't do well with it anymore. Too much stimulation and too much. But I just schedule out as much as I can. So I get whoever I can get at different times. So I work with my body.
You have to listen to your body, right?
Yeah.
Alexa Randolph with us here on the Mega Cast. She is the co-host of the podcast Staying Strong. Give us some of the topics on Staying Strong. Are you bringing in experts to talk, or is this more just talking about your experience?
So actually, I wasn't really sure what I wanted when I first did it. But after my first episode, I've actually had a guest on every single episode, which has been amazing. I've had some professionals, but a lot of it's just people, just everyday people, just sharing their stories, getting their message out. I've also had a lot of reality stars and athletes, which has been really cool. Like I never thought that would happen. I just decided to reach out and people relate to me and my story. So it's been really nice.
So tell us about some of their stories.
Just a lot of people with like mental health, like anxiety, depression, guilt. You would be surprised how many people actually deal with chronic pain, whether it's fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, central pain syndrome like I have. Like there's just so many different things that you wouldn't even, like back pain, that's chronic pain, that's invisible migraines.
Do you think by talking about this issue, It's opening up the doors to the general public to understand. So if they have a loved one suffering from one of these illnesses, they are a little bit more empathetic with them.
I hope so. I think we're getting there. I think we have a little bit of ways to go because what people don't understand, what they can't see. And that's like one of my one of my messages, my lines. It can be really tough to look at me or to look at somebody else and be like, you're not suffering, you're fine. When you see people with a broken arm or an arm cut off or cancer or just things where you can actually see it.
And while I understand you've been living with your pain for a few years now, one thing that's come out of COVID-19 and this crisis is the issue of mental health. It does seem as if it is being discussed a lot more than years past, and the stigma is starting to be removed. Are you seeing that as well?
I think so. I think people are coming out more and sharing their stories of how they feel alone or how they are struggling. And I think people are really understanding it because everyone is going through this.
So what advice do you give to people?
Just take it one day at a time. Reach out to friends, family, professionals, whatever you need. Just listen to yourself, listen to your body. I think that's the most important, and to stay forever strong.
With that, what advice would you give to someone else that is maybe thinking about starting a podcast or even writing a book? How do you make yourself stand out in this crazy world right now where it seems so many other people are doing the same thing?
I know that's so hard. I think it's your message. I think it's how you portray it and yourself. A lot of it, of course, is social media. But I think most of all, it's your message. I think, yeah, there's so many of the same podcasts, but everyone has a different message.
And do you think one of the things that makes you a little bit different and your co-host is because you guys are younger?
Yeah, I think so. And I think because I am dealing with it, I'm not just picking a random topic and podcasting about it. It's my experiences, and I get to bring what I've learned and what I've dealt with to help other people. So I think that helps too.
So do you want to give us a list? Who are some of the guests that you've had on your show?
Yeah, I've had anyone from like Ben Higgins from The Bachelor, Ashley Icanetti Haben, Zach Rance, Blake Hortzman. I've had Jimmy King and Darren McCarty. And I've just had your everyday person that's dealt with pain.
So what have you learned from interviewing these individuals?
I've learned we all have a story, and it doesn't matter if you think someone's life's perfect. Nobody's life's perfect. Nobody, no matter if you're rich, you're poor, you're famous, you're not famous, whoever, we all have a story and we all have struggles.
Alexa Randolph with us here on the MegaCast. She's the author and co-host of the podcast Staying Strong. Alexa, for those maybe not familiar with the podcast world, where can they find these interviews?
So they can find it on either my website, alexarandolph.com. I can Spotify podcasts are on, I think there's like Google podcasts, really wherever you listen to a podcast. Apple has them.
Do you think it was your communications background has really helped lead you down this new avenue in your life?
Actually, never really thought about it, but yeah, I think so, because I've learned a lot about this. I've learned about like verbal communications, but I've also learned how to interact with people.
What did you want to do when you were in college? Where'd you go to school?
I went to Michigan State, 2016, so go green. And I wanted event planning since I was a senior in high school. All the way through, I wanted maybe like wedding planning, but then eventually corporate. And I got to do it for a little while, but then with everything that happened, I had to give up kind of, or change paths.
Right. Sometimes, life puts us on a different path for a reason.
Yes.
So Alexa Randolph with us again. She's with the podcast Staying Strong. Alexa, great to have you with us. Anything maybe I didn't touch on that you want to talk about before we let you go?
Sure. Something kind of like we talked about for a second, but tomorrow night is our body image mental health event. I co-host with Rance of the Mental Health Collection in Big Brother 16, and you can just go on my website, alexarandolph.com. It's tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. We have some amazing guests, and it's a free Zoom event.
That's great. How important has it been for you to collaborate with other individuals?
So important. I mean, I can only do so much, whether it be from whatever I'm doing. It's just I can't do it alone, and no one can do it alone. So it's been really cool getting to meet so many new people because of these collaborations.
So again, when is the event? It's tomorrow, and they just sign up through your website?
Yep, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's completely free. You just go on my website, there's a picture, and it'll take you to the link.
Alexa, we so appreciate your time, and we wish you the best going forward. And, what's the long-term prognosis for you? Is this something you're just going to have to learn to live with?
Yep, as of now, I'm on no medication or anything because nothing helps. So I'm just dealing with it and just doing the best that I can and trying to help others.
Well, we wish you the best. And again, just by talking about it, you are helping a lot of other people.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me.